Hey guys, James here and welcome back to my channel. Today I am really excited to be driving this BRZ. This is the new BRZ and I am in my poser hat because I don't own a Porsche, and I'm in this jacket because I'm in Northern California, and as somebody who lives in San Diego now, NorCal might as well be Alaska. But back to this car. As somebody who has owned two Miatas, one of which was an ND Miata, I was really curious, like, how do the new Toyota Subaru twins compare to the ND Miata? With all of the improvements in the BRZ and the GR86, is the MX-5 even still relevant? And that's what I'm trying to find out today. So let's take this thing for a spin and find out. In this video, I'm not going to focus on numbers. Instead, I'm going to focus on how the cars feel. And when we talk about the engine, the BRZ and the MX-5 engines feel really different. It's very obvious from the driver's seat that the BRZ engine is more effective. It has more torque and it also pulls harder all the way up to high speed. The engine feels more effortless as it's moving the car. I think the MX-5's engine does feel effortless at lower to medium speeds, but once you're kind of on the freeway, that's where the BRZ's engine shines a little bit more over the MX-5. The BRZ engine continues to pull, whereas the MX-5 runs out of steam a little bit. What about the throttle response? I think the MX-5 has really easy to control throttle response, and I really liked it in that car. But if anything, I think the BRZ is just a little bit better. It has this beautiful predictability that where, you know, I just hopped into the car and like 5 minutes later I was able to rev match downshift and heel toe with no problems. But on the other hand, the MX-5 engine is, in my opinion, a lot more charismatic. The sound in the BRZ is, it's definitely kind of vacuum cleaner like. It's not very distinct, and there is a lot of fake engine noise in here when you get to the higher RPMs. I mean, it becomes very dominant in this cabin. What about the handling? Well, the BRZ is really interesting when you compare it to the MX-5, and here's why. In the MX-5 Miata, especially the ND or ND2 generation, when you go into a corner, the car kind of flops over to, you know, it leans over quite a bit, and then once it settles down, then it feels really predictable, and it can just stay on that path and carve out of that curve. This car is kind of the opposite, which is, I find really fascinating. Basically, it feels really tight and really predictable and precise, and then it starts to let go and you lose confidence all of a sudden. So in other words, the Miata doesn't give you as much confidence up front, but on the edge, it feels quite confident. This car is kind of the opposite. It gives you more confidence up front, but then that level of confidence falls off as you go maybe 7 or 8 tenths and beyond. I think the ride and handling balance in the BRZ is wonderful. The car, being a coupe, feels a lot more rigid than the MX-5, so you don't get a lot of this shuddering kind of motion. I do think that if you're trying to drive this car on track, it would be too soft. But really, there are very, very few vehicles on the road where, you know, you get like a livable kind of ride quality and the car is track ready. You know, that's like a different price bracket. So I think this is an excellent kind of ride and handling balance for the street and for weekend drives. It's really excellent. And what about the steering of this car? Well, the first thing that really strikes you about the steering is how precise and responsive the steering is. But the quick steering ratio combined with the light steering weight does come with downsides. I find that on the highway, this car is a little bit kind of a busy drive because you kind of have to pay extra attention to keep the car from wandering around within the lane. Steering wheel is a little bit dead. I don't feel a lot coming from it, so it's a good thing that I'm feeling a lot through the seat because I certainly am not feeling it through my hands. I think I personally prefer the MX-5 steering, but I would not disagree with you if you said you preferred this one. One of the weirder parts about this car's driving experience is the brake feel. It feels mushy. I asked the owner if the brakes always felt this way from the beginning, and he said yes. No, this was not caused by track usage or anything. There's this certain compressibility, kind of a long throw brake pedal, which I don't love. But if you can get past the slight sponginess of the brake pedal, the actual brake response and the brake force is great. I actually think it's quite linear, more so than the MX-5 actually. In the MX-5, what I noticed is that when you're braking really hard, like say 8 tenths or more, you don't quite get a proportionate, you know, resulting brake force. On the other hand, these brakes feel very linear. So, I actually, I got kind of used to the sponginess, and I actually really like this brake pedal. It It really does it for me. And finally, we need to talk about the shifting action in this car. I'm talking about the way the clutch and the shifter feel and operate. The clutch pedal still has that trademark short throw, but it is longer than before, and it's very controllable. And this shifter is just incredible. It's really light and really precise. You feel exactly where the shifter should go from one gear position to the next. And the throws are really short and really crisp. Guys, this is high praise coming from me. I've driven some of the best shifters on the road. I'm talking about Porsches, Honda S2000, Miatas, and this thing is right up there with the best of them. It's amazing. I'm just working through the gears at legal speeds. This is the brilliance of low power, high responsiveness cars. You can just shift through the gears randomly on the street without breaking the law. You might freak out. Other drivers are like, well, what is that car doing? But you're still going at legal speeds. It's an awesome thing about these, MX-5s and BRZs and GR86s. So let's sum up the difference between the BRZ and the MX-5. I think the core difference between the two cars is honestly personality. The BRZ has more power, a more tied down suspension, more effective brakes, a quick steering ratio, and very precise steering. It's very effective at doing the sports car thing. It's precise, it's lively, it's quick. All of those things are wonderful. But none of this makes the Miata irrelevant. The Miata is meant to have a different personality. It's dramatic, it's wild, and a little bit crazy, even on the street. In stock form, the MX-5 is less effective at 8/10, 9/10, 10/10, but it's more fun at 5/10. For my money, I'd go MX-5. I don't need speed to have fun. I want the car to feel alive and to feel joyful. This car feels a little serious for my taste. But that's not to say that if you buy a BRZ, you're making the wrong move. This car is awesome. And if you like the way this car feels, the way its personality comes out through the way it moves and responds to your inputs, get the BRZ or GR86. It's an amazing choice. And with that said, it's time to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for joining me until the end of this video. And if you found this video helpful or enjoyable or interesting, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button. It really helps out this little itty bitty automotive channel I have going on here. And also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the stuff I have coming out on my channel. I, talk about whatever's interesting in the world of cars and also do car reviews like this one. So hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of it. Again, my name is James. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.